Hello, everybody. This is Gerald Salenti, and it's Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. And once again, we are honored to have with us a man of men, a person that really respects what the founding fathers fought for and what they gave us, things that they ripped up now called the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And is Judge Andrew Napolitano, and he has a new article coming out. It'll be out tomorrow about another way of how they're robbing us of our freedom and how serious this really is. And it's in a place, I think once upon a time, it belonged to another country called Mexico, but now it's New Mexico. Hey, Judge, how you doing?
I'm fine, Gerald. How are you? The governor of New Mexico has just become a tyrant. She thinks that by executive decree, by signing a piece of paper, she can take away rights that are natural human rights that are guaranteed by the Second Amendment, that the Supreme Court reinforced just a year and a half ago, that are guaranteed by federal law, that are guaranteed by New Mexico Constitution, and that are guaranteed by New Mexico law simply by declaring an emergency. I'm speaking, of course, of the right to keep and bear arms. She issued a decree prohibiting anyone, even people who are lawfully authorized to do so, from carrying weapons in the city of Albuquerque because of an uptick in violent crime. She thinks, of course, that just by characterizing this as a health emergency from somewhere in the cosmos, she gets the authority to interfere with our rights. There are a lot of problems with this, not the least of which is that Justice Scalia, in the Heller opinion, defined the right to keep and bear arms as an individual personal right, as a pre-political right, meaning it existed before the government because it comes from our humanity, and as the modern day mechanical extension of your natural right to self-defense. So she thinks that by signing a piece of paper, she can strip human beings in the city of Albuquerque of their modern day natural right to self-defense. Here's what the police think about it. The police chief of Albuquerque said, I'm not enforcing this decree. The sheriff of the county in which Albuquerque is located said, I'm not enforcing this decree because I'm not going to go to jail for violating people's Second Amendment rights. So the governor has ordered New Mexico State Police, instead of patrolling the highways, which is what they get paid to do and what the law requires them to do under New Mexico law, to patrol the streets of Albuquerque looking for law-abiding citizens with valid gun permits and valid carry permits who are carrying guns in defiance of her decree. She's the governor, not the legislature. She can't make up law. No government can interfere with natural rights. Only a jury can after we've been convicted of violating somebody else's rights. Gerald, this is Constitutional Law 101. This is not advanced legal theory. This woman is a lawyer as well as the governor. She took an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, same oath that I did. And she's violated that oath and trashed the Constitution.
Is there any blowback in terms of this legally going on in New Mexico?
Yes, there are several lawsuits that have been filed, and of course, there's blowback in the media. The governor was interviewed by a sympathetic interviewer on CNN yesterday, and the interviewer said to her point blank, do you think the criminals will obey your decree? And the governor said no. Oh, and where do you get this emergency authority from? Well, just because I'm the governor. Sounds like George W. Bush after 9/11. Just because I'm the president, I can order the CIA to kill and the NSA to spy. These people have no respect for human dignity, no respect for natural rights, no respect for the constitutions they have sworn to preserve, protect, and defend. She's getting tremendous blowback, and she has to get tremendous blowback. For all we know, this is just a dry run to see how far the authoritarians can go. What civil liberties will they crush next? We all remember what happened 3 years ago when they crushed your right to travel, your right to speak, your right to assemble, your right to worship, your right to go to a store, your right to stand within 6 feet of another person, your right to regulate your face. And they got away with it. Although there are some lawsuits that are now maturing and are reversing those decrees. The decrees, of course, are gone. They should have been reversed at the time. So this has to be monitored and aggressively scrutinized, or it will happen again and again and again.
Well, again, the stupidity of this, and even the clown on CNN, as you mentioned, said, this is going to stop criminals from doing what they want. How about the war on drugs? Remember that one? You wanted to get drugs. You get drugs anywhere you want. A criminal wants to get a gun. What are they? They don't talk about, I think it was like 50 million new gun permits when they locked down the COVID war thing.
Correct.
Look at all the guns out there. There are hundreds of millions of guns out there, and now you're putting a regulation on to stop guns when everybody got guns, and any criminal that wants to get a gun is going to get a gun.
It's a very strange state. It has a very pro-gun history, a very traditional, family-oriented, Catholic, Hispanic history, and yet the governor and the legislature are a bunch, and the senators are a bunch of liberal Democrats. So she's defying everything out there. She's ruining her political career, and I'm sure you and I and the people watching us now couldn't care less about her political career. But she may cause the death of innocents by denying people the right to defend themselves. She actually wrote a law and said, by the way, if you violate this, it's 5 years in jail or a $5,000 fine. She actually went so far as to write the law as if she were the legislature.
Again, you were talking about the lockdowns. Here, this is from March 20th, 2020. Cuomo orders all non-essential New York workers to stay home. A little arrogant boy of nothing. A little daddy's boy born on third base and thought he had a home run.
Well, but Gerald,
piece of arrogant garbage. I'm changing the name of the Tappan Zee Bridge. I'm naming it the Mario M. Cuomo Bridge, and it's going to cost you $30 million to do all these new signs because you forgot to put the M in there. Now rip down those signs and put up the right ones.
Well, you're not making that up. That's
I know.
true about the M. But what you forgot about the lockdowns is the exceptions: liquor stores and tattoo parlors. It was just absurd. You couldn't go to Costco, you couldn't go to Walmart, but you could go to a liquor store and you could go to a tattoo parlor. Oh, don't try and find a Catholic mass. Don't try and find a synagogue, because we're shutting those down. And at the Bishop Stone Church, they closed the Catholic churches. This actually happened in New Jersey. We're going to send 5 state troopers to arrest a 76-year-old Roman Catholic bishop.
Yep. And again, it's one after another.
Well, that's why we need to publicize what she's done. Last week, the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit, that's Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. This is the most conservative and libertarian circuit court in the country, reviewed an injunction which prevented the government from attempting to coerce big tech into suppressing the speech the government hates and fears. The case originated in the Trump administration when the FBI was badgering Facebook and Twitter, pre Elon Musk, to suppress speech critical of vaccines.
I know.
One of the people they named was our friend RFK Jr., a federal judge who got the case and joined the whole government from talking to anybody about the freedom of speech. Last week, an appellate court reinforced that temporary restraining order, but crafted an exception for the most dangerous thing in the government that most of your listeners have probably never heard of. It's called CISA, C-I-S-A. It's the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Translation, it's the part of Homeland Security that interferes with the internet. This appellate court, the most conservative and libertarian in the country, lifted the injunction on CISA and allowed them to continue to intimidate big tech, kept the injunction on the FBI, kept the injunction on Joe Biden himself, who doesn't personally do this, kept the injunction on the White House, but lifted it on this secretive, relatively unknown, but extremely powerful, shadowy group in the government that most Americans have never heard of, called CISA. By the way, who created CISA? Another little daddy's boy. Thank you, George W. Bush, for creating Homeland Security and CISA. It has really kept us safe. Has it kept our liberties safe, Mr. President?
You're saying how they're robbing us of our freedom and our liberty. I was just listening. I love the old jazz, and I was just listening to.
You are very, very happy when you talk about jazz. Your whole composure has changed from fury and anger about Cuomo and Bush to joy, unbridled joy about jazz.
It was the American spirit.
Yes.
The Count Basies, the Duke Ellingtons.
Yes, it's very American. Yes.
Yeah, and I was just listening to this song with Peggy Lee, and it was during World War II. And they're talking about the Freedom Train. The Freedom Train going across America. And I was thinking about this before we went on the air. I was just listening to it. I was getting ready this morning. And your article, there is no Freedom Train anymore.
No.
Freedom has been stolen from us in front of our eyes.
By the government we have chosen.
Yep. And you used the term before, liberal. This is the definition of liberal. Willing to respect or accept behavior or opinions different from one's own.
We are the liberals. We are the true liberals.
So calling these other people liberals, they're not liberals.
No, they're not. They're authoritarians, Gerald.
And I call them libtards.
What's a libtard?
Yeah, like a retard.
Oh. Well, look, I don't know where this is going to go, but you and I and the people we interact with need to be beating the drum on this. This governor must be brought to task and shamed. Now, she is a defendant in several lawsuits over this. I'm surprised that there hasn't been a temporary restraining order imposed on her already. Look, the courts are too slow, Gerald. Last week, a New York State Supreme Court justice invalidated New York City Mayor Adams' firing of teachers, firemen, emergency responders, cops who wouldn't take the vaccine. They all get their jobs back and they all get back pay. That decision should have come down 2.5 years ago, not today. It's the right decision, and he blasted Adams to the skies. The city isn't even going to appeal it, but it's 2 years too late.
And again, that they got away with this stuff. Lock down this could stay open. And by the way, the reason why they allowed liquor stores to stay open is because of the high tax money that they get.
There you go.
End of story.
Yeah. Oh, you know who's on trial as we speak? Because you and I were involved with these people, the leaders of the trucker caravan in Canada. That trial is going on as we speak. These people are not Americans, but they're patriotic Canadians who understood their right to travel, their right to speak, their right to assemble. And another little daddy's boy. This theme keeps coming back, Gerald.
Yep.
Justin Trudeau made up his own laws, arrested them, and is now prosecuting them. Well, they don't have a bill of rights. They have a tradition, which is similar to ours. It's just not reduced to writing.
Yeah, he made up that emergency law.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Again, this is from the Trends Journal in April 2020, when everything started getting locked down. In Italy, where it is now known that 99% of those who died from COVID-19 had significant health issues before contracting it, and the average age of those died is 79.5 years of age.
Wow.
With over 3/4 having high blood pressure and a third diabetes, last Friday, Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte extended one of the most severe lockdowns in the world until at least the end of May. I mean, it's one thing after another. And are you ready for this? Announcing his decision, Conte stated the extended lockdown was a decision, you ready? For which I take all political responsibility, end quote.
Mm.
I take, just like this arrogant clown over there playing governor, I take. Your freedom doesn't mean crap to me. I'm a political piece of garbage. I'll tell you what to do. Oh, and by the way, these are the Americans and the NATO countries that go invade other countries under the bullshit that they're bringing freedom and democracy as they're stealing it from us right in front of our eyes.
Right. You'll be happy to know that his own political party threw him out of office, Prime Minister Conte, about a year after that piece that you just read.
Yep.
I was in Italy that summer. It was very, very draconian. Very, very draconian. When you couldn't go into a restaurant without showing proof of vaccine. You couldn't check out of a hotel without taking a test first. And I said, suppose I refuse to take the test, but we're not going to let you go. Well, who's going to pay for me staying here? It's a 5-star hotel. You'll have to pay. I mean, some of it's funny. Most of it was absurd. All of it was totalitarian.
Again, but people forget this. You ready? That little arrogant clown, that little arrogant boy that helped sell the fear of Fauci. This is from our Trends Journal in April 2020. I don't think we should shake hands ever again, he said. And we should have, quote, compulsive hand washing. In Michigan, Governor Gretchen Whitmer ordered that citizens, and we put AKA slaves of the state, are not permitted to walk across the street to visit friends or drive within the state to see relatives or to visit one's cottage up north. She has allowed attending a funeral with no more than 10 people. I say make it 11 people. No, Salenti, make it 8 people. Let's make up any kind of crap we want. We are politicians. People forget this stuff. It's one after another, how they're robbing us of our rights in front of our eyes.
This is we have the welfare state. We have the warfare state. We have the national security state. We have the emergency state. The emergency state began before 9/11 when the Patriot Act was drafted, before 9/11. So that after 9/11, when then Attorney General Ashcroft said, we need new tools to find these bad people, the Patriot Act was already written. Congress passed it with no debate. Don't worry, it's just temporary. Well, there's nothing more permanent, Milton Friedman once said, than a temporary government program. The Patriot Act is still with us. It's been amended. It's been expanded. So we've gone from the World Trade Towers to Trump, to COVID under Trump and the governors, to now a governor just declaring emergency authority, and the power of the government keeps expanding and the liberty of the individual keeps shrinking.
The power of the government keeps expanding. And what'd you say?
And the liberty of the individual keeps shrinking.
Yep. You know, we're talking before about how much I love jazz. And you think of the American spirit back then, and you look at how these cats were dressed, how cool they were, and the elegance. And it's gone from ragtime to swing to R&B, rock and roll, Motown, and now it's one bad rap. Look what the people look like. It's the decline of our society right in front of our eyes. Freedom train, now, no, can't get on board. It's closed down. We'll tell you what to do. I'm a little piece of political crap, and we'll tell you what to do. The mayors, how about that de Blasio? Remember that arrogant little boy, Warren Wilhelm Jr., who changed his name to his mommy's name to get the Italian-American vote in New York?
He told me personally that he's Neapolitan and he has relatives named Napolitano in Naples. I didn't know whether to believe him or not. But you're right. His real name was Warren Wilhelm. De Blasio was the name of his stepfather, not his biological father.
His mother, I think his mother.
Oh, mother. I think you're right. You're right.
Yeah. But
Whatever.
again,
he's history now. And we have one in New York that's just as bad.
Just as bad.
Adams.
An arrogant Adams.
Yes.
AA, arrogant Adams. Again, look what's going. Where are the people? Where is the fight?
The fight is in people like you and me and people that are protesting what this New Mexico governor is doing. But for the most part, there is no fight. For the most part, people roll over just like they did during 9/11. For the most part, we are a nation of sheep.
Yep. And he who's not angry when there is just cause for anger is immoral. Why? Because anger looks to the good of justice.
Yes. Thomas Aquinas,
if you can live
right?
amid injustice without anger, you are immoral as well as unjust, St. Thomas Aquinas. So all you people out there that aren't doing anything and aren't angry amid this injustice that the judge and I are talking about, and Scott Ritter and Colonel McGregor and others and Phil Giraldi, then, you are immoral as well as unjust. So be moral, subscribe to the Trends Journal, and of course, go to Judging Freedom with Judge Andrew Napolitano. The guests that he has on his channel are sensational. The interviews are like nothing that you'll find, almost nothing that you'll find anywhere else. So go to judgenap.com and spread the word for liberty, life, and the pursuit of happiness. Thanks, Judge, for being on.
Thank you, Gerald. All the best to you, my friend.
Ciao, ciao.